That what we got? Is that it right there? Kelly Greens are back? Is that it? Look at that thing, man. Right? Congratulations. And maybe I'd say this, one of the 5 markets that people would stand in line to get those Kelly Greens. And I think it's awesome. Okay? I think it's awesome that the fan base is. Let me say this to you. By the way, welcome aboard. Appreciate it. We got football this week. Hall of Fame game is actually this week. Hey, before we even get going here, I want to welcome aboard, as you could see right down there, Hooters King of Prussia, man. Congratulations. We officially started our relationship as the official home of the National Football Show with Big Silz today. And we thank you very much for being part of the program. My 30-plus year relationship with Hooters is as strong as it ever has been. And now that we're going to be doing a ton of stuff in King of Prussia, so you guys are going to be able to go up and have a couple beers with Big Silz at the King of Prussia. When we're in town, we're going to be doing a ton of things with the Hooters folks in the Philly area, and we so look forward to you. Hey, do me a favor, like the show. We really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the show. Awesome stuff. Thank you again. We welcome aboard. By the way, I want to say this, man. Anybody who thinks what the Eagle fan base did by standing in line waiting for those Kelly Greens, you're a jerk. What is the one thing that sports is supposed to make you feel good in life? It's supposed to make you feel like a kid. That's what sports is about. Making you feel like a kid. Making you forget some of the worries you have. And if buying a jersey is something that makes you feel like a kid because you have tremendous passion for your team, cool. I am all over that. I'm a big fan. Buffalo Bills, Bills Mafia. Hey, man, we have enough to deal with in our lives each and every single day with reality. Okay? It's great to feel like a kid when your football team is successful and you feel cool about it. You want to stand in line at 8 o'clock in the morning to buy a Kelly Green jersey that's got Randall Cunningham or Jalen Hurts or whomever? It makes you feel good in life? Jesus criminy, man. Who would piss on that but a media guy or a media woman? You don't piss on that. That's the stuff that's cool to me. Tone's like, I agree. Jerseys are awesome. I don't care what anyone says. They feel good on the skin. Yeah, because you know why? You're wearing your pride. Loyal to the turf, I mean. Absolutely, man. Loyal to the soil. I absolutely love it. I hate when people make you have to always feel grown up. I do sports talk radio, or I do sports talk for a reason. You know why? It makes me feel good. I love talking this. Do you know how many arguments my aunt and I got into talking politics? I refuse to talk politics. We both do. We stopped. But when we talk sports, though, man, it's cool. NFL owns the sports page. And you and I can agree to disagree here. Okay? Dan's talking to Canadians. Dude, you talk about Canadians wearing those Hab jerseys or those sweaters, or a Maple Leaf person who wears those sweaters, or an Edmonton Oiler fan. Dude, those people revere that stuff. They revere it. So when I see people wearing the Jerome Brown Kelly Greens, that's right, Neil. Sports is the greatest equalizer. It is. It makes you feel good about everything. And now that the football season's right around the corner here, you have to feel awesome. You get to stand in line and buy a Kelly Green. Kelly Green makes you think about some of the great years in Eagle history, too. What's wrong with that? Oh, I see. We should just worry about the shittiest things on the planet. You know, don't worry. You'll get enough of that today, because do you know what today is? July 31st? Today is prediction day. We have prediction day on the show. Okay? Silz, what do you think about Christian Ellis? Fat Cat just asked me out of the gate, what do I think about Christian Ellis? Simple. They have no one else. That's what I think about him. And your defense is small. Your defense is small. We're going to get to that here in a minute here. I first want to do this about what's going on in Indianapolis and Shane Steichen, your former offensive coordinator. You see what Shane said today too? Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's on the team right now. Why in the world would you want to go into your very first training camp alienating players and siding with the owner? The players in the locker room are looking for a voice to stand up for a guy who gets in the way. You got the job. If they fire you, they fire you. Stand for something. And the most important thing you can stand for, dude, is your players. So Steichen's standing with management. Okay, you lose your locker room. Your best football player is your running back. And the first thing you say is, today he's on the team. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear a head football coach go like this. Hey, man, that guy belongs on this team. He's my number one star. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure this guy has the best year. Not, well, he's on our team today. And then how about the owner coming out with some bullshit, maybe story about a bad back? Jonathan Taylor goes like this. I don't have a bad back. There's nothing wrong with me. Are you really trying to get out from paying the guy? Or are you pissed off because he stood up to you? Do you understand? Here, let me do something here, Tone, so no one gets upset. Do you know what a cattle mentality that is? No, yeah. Do you know what a cattle owner mentality that is, to think you could treat your players like cattle? Because that guy stood up to Jim Irsay and said, I want out of here. They came up with potentially something that, because according to the player, according to Jonathan Taylor, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with the kid, but they've manufactured a back injury all of a sudden. The owner already has set the table for for Shane Steichen's failure. Hey, Frank Reich looks awesome. He looks great getting out of there. I can't believe that Carson Wentz actually had a good season there. There's nothing anyone can do in Indianapolis. Carson Wentz had a great year there. Fired him. Frank Reich was doing a great job. Fired him. Dude, there's nothing you can do to please that guy. I mean, so you've manufactured a potential where you're looking at a guy that doesn't have injury and you're putting him on a list where you don't have to pay him because you're pissed off of him standing up to you. Boy, I'll tell you something, man. Kudos to the Philadelphia Eagles because they do things great. Man, they don't want to embrace. They don't want to alienate players. They want to embrace players. They try to embrace you. They try to make you feel part of a family. That guy alienates everything in the building and treats you like a cattle owner. Is that good enough for some of you? Because I know some of you can't take where I would traditionally go. So what I'll do is cattle owner. Is that okay? Because that's the mentality these owners have. Like they're cattle owners. And there's my cattle. Brand you, send you out. When you're no good anymore, get rid of you. You're part of the process of the NFL. You're not a partner in the process of the NFL. Okay? That's who you are. Damn. I would hate to be a member of the Indianapolis Colts. Who in their right mind would want to work there? The only reason you take the head coaching job in Indianapolis is because it's a big paying job. And there's only 32 of them in the world. I get it. But when it comes to success, Shane Steichen has no chance of success in Indianapolis. Zero. Because it bleeds down. That organization's a train wreck. It is the new Daniel Snyder. It's funny, that's the same guy who took shits and shots at Daniel Snyder on the way out the door in Washington, and he's the same guy. Here's the difference, though. Snyder was kind of like manipulating the books. This guy got caught being a drug addict. Prescription pads, open pill bottles, $35,000. If that was a player, what would happen? What would happen to him if that was a player with the Colts with $35K in the seat, prescription pads, and open oxycodone bottles? What would happen to that player, you think? What do you think would happen to that player? Dude, everything that's wrong with an owner in the NFL is in Indianapolis. And everything that is right with being an owner is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay? Everything that's right is in Philly. Make no mistake about it. No mistake about it. Man, we got a bunch of topics today. You know, not a lot of lists. Not a lot of lists, but what we have some predictions here. We're going to put our name on something here. Instead of waffling around, we're going to put our name on something and some things this day here on this Monday. Ace, big Silz facts, just like in society, when we stand up for what we believe in, we get demonized because we all want success and enjoy our lives. Just saying. Ace, always remember something. When you have conviction in a take or in a stance or in a position in your life, always prepared to have that challenged. People challenge people that take stances and have conviction in their life. That's why most people straddle fences. That's why they don't stand for anything. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. 90% of the people in our country don't stand for anything. They don't. They don't have conviction. You don't have conviction. Now, should I do the predictions first? Because some of these are going to make you feel a little bit. I don't know. Some of these predictions are going to be pretty tight. Maybe we should do this. Let's start with a couple players first, because I'm hearing some really great. By the way, I hear Nolan Smith looks just absolutely spectacular in Eagle camp. You got to get him on the field somehow. We'll talk about that. But he looks great. And also, too, Jalen Carter has already won the job. Jalen Carter's already won the job next to Fletcher Cox. Tracy thinks he is going to be a force this year. They may not start him, but he's already better than Jordan Davis. He's already better. You see it on the field. You see him knocking offensive linemen down. Hey, we're going to get to the predictions here. Okay, I promise. Jalen looks great in camp as well. Let me ask you something here about Dallas Goedert before. I'm going to go down the list here of a couple guys as they're in training camp and they're looking just absolutely great. You know, that's funny right now. Name goes, can Nolan play OLB? Name. If you're a coordinator, find a position for him like they did with Hugh Douglas. Make a position for him. Okay? That's what defensive coordinator does. He looks at his weapons. How can I get him on the field? How can I utilize? You can't have him on the bench. He's got to be on the field. How do I get him on the field? Well, you got to be creative. Last year's D coordinator wasn't creative. He couldn't do that stuff. That's what the true great coordinators do. They figure a way to get all their talented guys on the football field. We're going to get to all that, okay? And the Georgia guys do look great. And by the way, I'm not saying Jordan's not looking better. I'm just saying Jalen Carter looks spectacular right now. So let me ask you about Dallas Goedert here. I wrote this down here. Can Dallas Goedert be better than Keith Jackson, Zach Ertz, Chad Lewis, Charlie Young, How good can Goedert be? How good can Dallas Goedert be? You think he'll be better than Zach? Zach, not very much when it came to yards after the catch. I thought Chad Lewis was a great tight end. Keith, I thought, was spectacular in a very limited offense back in the day. Can he be better? Because if he's better than Zach Ertz, he's going to be considered one of the 5 best tight ends. And in today's NFL, as my boy Tone would say, that's a premium position. And if you have the 5th best tight end in the National Football League, that tight end, man, with the wide receiving core you have, albeit it's not deep, how good can this guy be? Goddard's already better than all of them. Marina thinks that Dallas Goedert's already better than Keith Jackson, Zach Ertz, Chad Lewis, and Charlie Young. Really? Whew. He's a great blocker. Phenomenal blocker. Phenomenal blocker. Is he better than Keith Jackson? Is Dallas Goedert already better than Keith Jackson? I played against Keith in the pros and in college. Do you think he's better? You think he's better than Keith Jackson? Could Dallas Goedert be the greatest tight end in Eagle history? And I don't put Harold Carmichael in that conversation. He's kind of like a flanker to me, more so than a tight end. KC thinks equal. Maybe this year will define Dallas Goedert. Maybe this year, this is what's going to define his place in Eagle history, right? So maybe yet to be determined. Let's do that. I don't mean to kind of walk away from the question, but you know what? To say you're better than Keith Jackson today or Chad Lewis or Zach Ertz and you're Dallas Goedert, I think it's a pretty big reach, don't you? I think Dallas Goedert's got to put a couple good years together before we start making that conversation. Right? Let's do that. At the end of the year, we can make that call whether he's better. What a great football player. I think he's better than Ertz. I do. How about this? I think he's got more potential than all these guys. Will he fulfill that potential yet to be determined? I saw a poll question with Eagle fans. If you had to draft a wide receiver right now off your team, who would you draft first, AJ or Devontae? Who would you draft? I heard Randy Moss make some comments on this. Who would you take? Devontae Smith, or would you draft A.J. Brown? If you had to go into the draft and these 2 wide receivers were available and you needed a wideout, would you take A.J. Brown or would you take Devontae Smith? Man. AJ's not a cancer. I actually think A.J. Brown's a great teammate. Who would you take if you had to draft one of these players? Tone's quiet in the room. Ugh, you don't want to answer this one. I don't blame you. I don't believe there's a wrong answer here, to say the truth, okay? I don't believe there's a wrong. Ben goes, hey, ask the Titans. Ask the Titans. Very quiet. You see that? Tone's like this. Big Silz, I don't know. Let's add, hey, I got this off the WIP Twitter page. So why don't we do this? Why don't we add something and a little wrinkle to it so it looks like we're not plagiarizing those guys? T.O., A.J. Brown, or Devontae Smith, the three best wide receivers that the Eagles have had since 2004, who would you draft first? Start, bench, or cut? Okay. Wow, you guys think T.O. is better than A.J.? I'm not taking Terrell Owens over the two guys that are playing right now because I need a good teammate. I need a guy who's going to help the guys around me play better. I want my wide receiver not to be crying and moaning about touches. I want him to be crying and moaning about losing. And I don't feel that Terrell Owens, I think he's in line with many of the wide receivers that are in the NFL today that don't give a shit about winning. I don't want a wide receiver that doesn't care about winning. And I think both these guys care about winning. In my opinion, I don't think Owens is the better player, I believe. Okay? I believe he's the better player. Okay? But that doesn't mean I want him on my ball team. I wouldn't want Antonio Brown on my team. And I personally think Antonio Brown's better than Terrell Owens. Look at his numbers. His first 7 years in the NFL, no one came close to it. Look at his numbers. Terrell Owens did nothing compared to Antonio Brown. Nothing. Nothing. Not remotely close. He was on historic pace of great numbers, Antonio Brown, before he destroyed his career. And we'll walk it back. Let's stay in the building here. Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown, who do you draft off this current team? If I had to pick, here, let's do this. Who runs a better route? That's a great way to do it. Who runs a better route, A.J. or Devontae? Devontae. Who's got better hands? Devontae. Who's more physical? Brown. Who's better after the catch? Who's better after the catch, A.J. Brown or Devontae? I'll tell you what, man, Devontae Smith gets into open space. You ain't catching that dude. And if he had no clothes on, you're definitely not catching him. Okay? Brown after the catch for sure. I'll tell you what, in open space, though, that's one dude you don't want in open space is Devontae Smith. That guy gets in open space, he's gone. You get him up the sideline one-on-one, and he's gone. Man, I saw this question, and I was like, that's a great question to ask everyone. Who is a better, if you had to draft one, Brown or Smith? I'm going to take, even though I'm more prone to take physical players, I'm going to take Devontae Smith. I think when everything is said and done, okay, when everything is said and done, and you know what's been the most surprising thing about Devontae Smith? He could take a hit. I've been pleasantly surprised with that. Okay, I've been pleasantly surprised. Can you believe this? I'm not sure if the Eagles have a wide receiver in the Hall of Fame. Could this be like your first wide receiver go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Wasn't Tommy McDonald more of a halfback? Okay. Wasn't he more of a halfback? I love how willing of a blocker Smith is too. I think he's a great football player and a great teammate. I really do. he is absolutely fabulous. I was wrong. Okay, on draft day, I didn't think they had the quarterback to get him the football because I said numerous times, and I said this, Tone, if Devontae Smith goes to Cincinnati, he's a 1,500-yard guy. But Jalen's improvement has made it so that his improvement has definitely been part of the growth of Devontae Smith too. Isn't it wild? Hey, who are you more surprised about with how they're doing? Jalen Hurts or Devontae Smith? Who are you more surprised with? I guess I'm asking myself that question. I really did. I thought he was not physical. He was 6'1", 175. I didn't think he'd hold up. I'm talking Smith. Jalen, I didn't think he could throw the football. And that was the thing coming out of college. But both have taken those narratives and absolutely diminished him each and every single year. I knew Smith would be the truth. I just felt it. I knew Smith would help Hurts' development. So who do you think has had more impact on Jalen? A.J. Brown or Devontae? I think A.J. I think A.J. Brown has had more impact. You know what's funny? I'm going to put it this way, everyone. Tone. I think that A.J. has had more impact on Jalen Hurts, but I think Devontae Smith has had more impact on A.J. Brown because he sees – you got to remember something. How many great wide receivers do you think A.J. Brown played with at Ole Miss? Couldn't have been many. That guy was in a room with some of the best wide receivers that are currently playing in the NFL. I'm talking Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith was in the room with some of the best wideouts, all pro, guys who and guys in that conference he was constantly playing against, like Jamar Chase and Jefferson and them guys. Can you imagine being in the SEC during the era of Devontae Smith, Judy, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle? All these guys are in the SEC at one time or another, facing each other. What a psychotic time for wideouts in the SEC. AJ played with DK Metcalf at Ole Miss. Wow. Okay. Well, then I think that just goes to the point again that the SEC at one time had amazing wide receivers. God, man. I'm going to take Devontae Smith. I am. I'm going to take Devontae Smith. That's right. I forgot about Moore, too. Wow, what a ton of wideouts. Hey, shit, Mike Evans played at Texas A&M. I forgot about Evans. Evans was in – look at all the great wideouts, man, that come from the SEC. Mike Evans came from Texas A&M. You had – no, Josh Gordon was Baylor, so he wasn't a Southeastern Conference guy. But look at all those SEC dudes that played during that time. All right. So I thought that was an interesting poll question. Let's go into the predictions now. And the owners let a lot of them drop to the second round. Hey, I'll say this to you too, Wep, and most of the guys that are currently in the NFL that are your big-time wideouts are second rounders. A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp were later round draft choices. They weren't first-round picks. Do you know 65% of the Pro Bowlers that are in the NFL today were not first-round draft choices? I think that shows you, again, how deep the position at wideout is compared to when we see year in and year out to the running back, which look at how many great running backs are sitting on the beach right now as we talk. Okay? All right. I want to do this here, and I'm gonna do my predictions here. Most of you won't like these predictions, but I'm going to throw them out to you. Here we go. My 2023 Philadelphia Eagle predictions for the team. Last year, I predicted you'd get to the Super Bowl. This year, here is my predictions. I think the Eagles win. It's funny, I just changed this because I went back and forth. I think the Eagles win 11 games and become, for the first time in 24 years, I think it is, that a team repeats as NFC East champions. And I think they win the East for a second year in a row. Yep. 11 games. And I think they win the East. I debated. One time last night, I was in a different place. This morning, I woke up. I was in another place 25 minutes ago. But here, I think it's going to be a battle to win the NFC East. Okay? So I have, and I'm going to keep this with us as we go on. Okay? Kelly goes 11 games. That's it. I'll explain why here in a minute. Dank has you 13-4. Okay, well. I say this. I'm only willing to go this far. Prediction number 2. I have the Eagles making it to the NFC title game and playing the Cowboys in the NFC title game at Lincoln Financial. That is as far as I'm willing to go. Last year, I thought you'd get to the Super Bowl and play the Bills. This year, I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to make it to the NFC title game, Lincoln Financial, and it will be one of the most televised and anticipated conference championship games in decades, especially on the NFC side. It'll be one of the most anticipated NFC title games we've seen. So, my first 2 predictions. I believe the Eagles win 11 games. They win back-to-back NFC East titles. I think the Eagles make it to the NFC Championship game and will play the Dallas Cowboys. Here is prediction number 3. Nakobe Dean is not the answer at middle linebacker. Not a chance. I've debated it. I've thought about it. It's a prediction now. Okay? I don't believe he's the answer. I think he'll struggle. And there's even reports out there that Howie Roseman is actively looking for a safety and linebacker to be brought in before the start of the regular season. So, I do not believe that Nakobe Dean will be the answer at Mike linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see 130 and more tackles coming from that guy. Not a chance. Now, he has every opportunity to prove me wrong. And that's the cool thing about this. Hassan Reddick did. Okay? I told you that Jalen Hurts would be hurt and not play a full season. Turned out to be true. Jalen's year was great. Okay? Not spectacular passing-wise, but it was awesome enough for him to be able to help every guy around him. So, we'll see. I do not believe that Nakobe Dean's the answer at Mike linebacker. No, I said you wouldn't have 2,000-yard wideouts. Prediction number 4. I think Jalen Carter is the next Philadelphia Eagles superstar. Just watching him move around, the way he moves around and the way he's going to move around in football games, he's already your best defensive interior tackle. I personally think he's better than Fletcher Cox. He's the best defensive tackle you have. And there's a shot by the end of the year. I think he's going to be an upgrade to Javon Hargrave. That's the kind of season I see him having. I think he's your next superstar defensive tackle. Wow. Like in the room with this guy here. Okay. I think he's right here. The way he moves and the way he grabs guys and uses his hands, his pass rush, especially in a 3 technique. Jalen Carter could be Howie Roseman's second greatest draft choice next to Jalen Hurts. Dude, he is a great-looking football player. Prediction number 5 for the 2023 Eagle season. By the end of the year, Tyler Steen will be the starting right guard. I do not believe that Cam Jurgens will hold the fort and will be the starter by the end of the year. You hear Nick Sirianni on a daily basis says, today Jurgens is in there. They are very impressed, from what I'm understanding, with Tyler Steen. His size, his quickness, how good he is, how good he's transitioning into being a right guard, and how good he looks at the position. He just doesn't have the experience. He's a better player. He's a better football player than Cam Jurgens. And it's proving out so far the early part of camp. And when they get into some organized team activities and they get a chance to go one-on-one, that's where I think it's going to be the separation point, is where Steen will potentially get the start. If I'm not mistaken, I think Sayamalo was the starter in 2017, and then they ended up having to go to Wisniewski, and Wisniewski went in and became the starter. And I personally think, JM, I think the size and everything he brings to that right guard position, and by the way, I'm not saying Jurgens is a bad ball player. I think Steen's better. And you got to remember, he's not in his natural position. I think he's going to be a fine addition to the offense eventually when he goes back to his center position. But in my opinion, I think Cam Jurgens is a center who's trying to do something that Andre Dillard wouldn't do, and that's fill a gap and a hole for the Eagles on their offensive line. And I like what the guy's doing. The guy's in there competing in a position that he traditionally doesn't play, but you know what he's trying to do? He's trying to get on the field. I give him kudos. I'm not ripping him. I think the other guy's just better and bigger, and I want better and bigger. If I could go 6'6", 6'5", 6'3", 6'5", 6'8" down my offensive line, I'm all over that. I mean, I'm all over that. They would have to be, with Steen in there, the biggest offensive line in the National Football League. Okay? And you got the swing guy in Driscoll. I mean, you couldn't, and you know what's even better? You couldn't find Jalen Hurts behind that massive wall of humanity. You couldn't. Okay? You're right. We're definitely got to respect Jurgens' willingness to compete. Absolutely. Hey, something Dillard didn't. Dillard's not on the football team because he failed as a first rounder. That should have been him going to right guard. But he was unwilling to do that. Jurgens is willing to play placeholder if he has to. I'm all over that too. You give a guy, hey, you want me to play any position you want so that I can get on a football field? You don't hammer that. You embrace that. That means he wants to do, and he's willing to do whatever it takes for him. Dude, Cam Jurgens, I am not down on him at all. I think the other guy's going to be better. That's not a problem. That's okay. Jurgens really can't lose. He will be a starter at some point. That's right, some point regardless. if he stays healthy and continues to develop. Now, look, too. So you got some of the best players in the National Football League at every position in the offensive line. Center, left guard, left tackle, right tackle. There's a whole, get this, there's a gigantic job opening. It would be like, do you understand what's happening here in Philly? There's a gigantic job opening on the board of directors of Apple. And you've got to be the elite to get that position. Elite of elite. And so if you're Cam Jurgens, think of what Tone just said. So if Cam Jurgens doesn't win the job, okay, so he doesn't win the job in Philly at right guard. Are you down on him? If you're, say, the Jaguars or the Packers, I'd call up Howie and go, hey, you want to trade him? I'll give you a second rounder for him. That's all right. We're good. And Howie would probably go, a second rounder? No, you mean a first rounder. Cam Jurgens has put himself in a position to be considered a first-round draft choice now. If you put Cam Jurgens on the open market right now, Cam Jurgens is a first-round talent. And if Steen starts, they underdrafted him. So wait, Tyler Steen becomes a starting right guard in his first year out of Bama, and he was a what, third rounder, was it? Fourth rounder, whatever it was? Holy shit, what a steal in the draft. From what I'm hearing, Steen's playing better. But again, he's limited with experience. And again, guys, he's not losing. Number 6 prediction. Some people felt Jurgens was better than Linderbaum. I do too. Linderbaum, in my opinion, is a good football player. I think Linderbaum out of Iowa was a good football player. I mean, I think he's a fine ball player. I actually think Cam's better. Played at Nebraska. All the guys down there thought he was an earth mover. He didn't really know Dave Remington, who was a 2-time Outland Trophy winner and Lombardi winner. But he said this guy, Cam Jurgens, can play. Strong as hell, everything you want. Lateral movement, tough as nails. I'm like, I think he's a good-looking ball player. He's a great-looking prospect, and I think the Eagles got a really good player. Steen's going to play, though, and start, in my opinion. It's okay. Here's my 6th prediction for the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles' offense is going to be one of the best offenses in the National Football League, and I think it'll be the top offense in the NFC. Who has a chance to be a better offense than the Eagles in the NFC? Could the Niners, if Purdy's that guy? They could be, but that's an uncertainty. Could the Cowboys? That's an uncertainty with Dak's picks. Could the Vikings? Addison, we have to see how he plays. The certainty is Philly. 2,000-yard wideouts, an MVP candidate, and Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Yes, you have to replace 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns at running back. Okay, I get it. There's some offense that have to be replaced there. But there's too much certainty and uncertainty around the NFC. You really believe that the Dallas Cowboys have enough in a run game with Tony Pollard to be able to have a better offense than the Eagles? I don't. I don't think that, okay? Detroit, that's a great one too. Micah, Detroit, they get the kid from Alabama, running back. Jamison Williams comes back later. Tight end's good. The O-line's good. The quarterback's coming back around again. Okay, that could be. Okay, that could be. You said they have a better running back room. Who did I say had a better running back room? Dallas? When did I say that? Dallas has one guy, Tony Pollard. I never said Dallas has a better running back room than you. Okay, Tony Pollard's a better running back than anything you have. You don't have a running back in Tony Pollard's room. Tony Pollard's a better back. He just got $10.5 million bucks. And if you think about it, your second best running back's your quarterback. Okay? A hurt Pollard? Whatever, guy. Hurt? I wouldn't be talking about hurt when it comes to your trash can running backs. Prediction number 7. I think the Philadelphia Eagles defense will finish as one of the worst defensive football groups in the National Football League. Eagles' second coming of the greatest show on turf. I agree with that. I think you're going to struggle on defense in 2023. I think your secondary is going to struggle across the board. I think you'll be able to get to the quarterback, which will be the only saving grace, and you'll kind of be able to stop the run. Other than that, you don't really have any stars on that side of the football right now. Reddick, potentially Carter, and who? You have no linebackers to speak of. You have no safeties right now to speak of. And you've got a DT with potential, and you've got a 33-year-old DT. And you got Reddick. Graham's aging. I think Sweat's a good player. Elite? No. You got a brand new D coordinator. I think Sean Desai will struggle with this group against better teams, better coach teams, and better quarterbacks. Graham's not a star, dude. Brandon Graham is not a star. Brandon Graham has never been considered a star in the NFL. He's been considered a really good ball player. Star? No. Okay? Had an excellent year last year. He's not a star. Josh Sweat is a better player. Okay? Brian, you can call him whatever you want. Again, I'm not talking about him personally. I'm talking about who he is and what his career's been. He's been a really good player. Star in the NFL? Absolutely not. Has he had moments? Absolutely. Absolutely. Eagle star? Sure. Rest of the NFL, Eagles have the deepest, most talented front seven. Okay, whatever. And you can't stop the run for 2 years. 2 years. And now you have no linebackers. And like I said, Nakobe Dean will be the reason for this defense not playing up to potential because he's not good enough. I don't believe it. I think he's not big enough. I don't believe he'll hold up. And I think they're asking way too much of him. I would have put him at will linebacker or Sam and let him at least get used to playing the position of linebacker and getting on the field and have an experienced Mike. Instead, they're just jamming it down his throat now and expecting him to go out there and take on 365-pound offensive guards for 17 weeks. Not a chance in hell. He's a little dude. And if your tackles are getting knocked off the ball like they have for the last 34 games, he has no chance. And again, these are predictions. These are opinions. I don't believe he's the answer. Okay? Who's going to run on you? That's funny right there. You see when the guy goes, who's going to run on you? 2 years ago, the Kansas City Chiefs ran the ball for 238 yards on you, and they're not even a running team. Who's going to run on you? Teams with elite quarterbacks that are great in play action. You don't have to have a spectacular running back to run for 200 yards on the Eagles. You have to have a great quarterback that is great in play action, and you're playing a bunch of them. So just trash one of the best cornerback duos in the league. Mello, if you think you have one of the best cornerback duos, congratulations to you. I thought you had an overrated Darius Slay at the end of the year. He had a horrible Super Bowl. He was terrible for the last month and a half of the year. Whatever you think. He was not good. He was not good. One of the best duos? I don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah, and remember something about those games 2 years ago. You played better quarterbacks, and every one of them ate your lunch. Remember that. Every one of those quarterbacks 2 years ago, when you played better guys, destroyed the Eagle defense. 88, 90% completion percentage. Pretty much the same personnel on it. Oh, you think that's going to improve with lesser personnel on your defensive side this year? How do you see that? You got lesser players this year. You have lesser guys in experience this year, but you think you're better. I think the Eagle offense is going to be phenomenal. I think the Eagle defense is going to struggle. That's my prediction. Okay? My prediction is you'll struggle on defense this year to stop the run and to cover tight ends coming out of the backfield because you don't have anybody to cover. Who's going to cover Travis Kelce in Kansas City at Arrowhead? Who on your football team could cover Travis Kelce? Just curious. Name me one guy who's going to cover him. Who? Sidney Brown? A rookie you're going to put on Travis Kelce? 150 yards, 10 catches. Who else? Nakobe Dean? 150 yards, 10 catches. Who are you putting on Travis Kelce? I'm curious. Who are you putting on these tight ends? You couldn't even cover the guy that the Giants had a year ago who was making catches. Come on, man. Let's be realistic here in expectations. If they play better, that's why this is called predictions. Now, I will say this to you about Jalen Hurts. Is Jalen Hurts the first-year starter or last year? Or is he somewhere in the middle? You guys are under the assumption he's going to continue to get better. I think he's somewhere between his first year starting and last year. I think he's somewhere in there. I don't think he's going to get better. I think his decision-making will get better. Dan Marino never got better. Okay? How did Patrick Mahomes get better? Did Patrick Mahomes get better? No, he got smarter, spreading the football around more. Best thing they ever did was getting rid of Tyreek Hill. Why? He had to spread the ball around. Makes him more patient. Instead of having to go to one guy all the time with targets, made him a better ball player. Made it more confusing. There were times in football games last year, Kansas City had at least 11 to 13 guys touching a football in the passing game last year. That's how you become undefensible. Hurts is not going to get any better. His decision-making, like Mahomes will get, and his confidence will grow. Okay? Your confidence grows. Dan Marino, Joe Montana, what made them better was their decision-making and their confidence. They were the same guy as they were when they won their first Super Bowl. When Montana beat the Bengals in Detroit, he was the same guy when he beat the Bengals in Miami. Nothing different. He was confident, calm, more experienced. He was the same guy his entire career. Guys don't get better like, wow, this guy just throws for 8. That doesn't happen. You are who you are. Your identity is set who you are. Now, the reason that Jalen's getting to where you're going, he's a better passer than we thought. Okay. He's a better passer than we thought because his decision-making in the run game and the RPO. Remember something. When you have a West Coast offense, that's based off of the passing game and spreading people out. When you run an RPO, the number one thing that's first and foremost in an RPO system is what? Your quarterback's got to be able to run the ball. It's not throw the ball, run the ball. Now, what's making the Eagle offense more difficult to cover? Jalen has gotten better throwing the ball. But statistically, like I said, and again, I'm not telling you something that's not true here. His numbers are, get this, Jalen Hurts has average passing numbers. But because he's so exceptional at running, those average passing numbers are accentuated because of the decision-making in the RPO. Nobody has ever thrown the way Jalen Hurts throws the ball who's a running quarterback like that. Shit, not even Lamar. Well, Lamar had a year where he led the NFL in passing touchdowns. But he's never had a passing year like Jalen did a year ago. Okay? I mean, his numbers for what he does with 800 yards rushing and all those touchdowns rushing, and all he has to do is put up Geno Smith numbers, which he did. He put up Geno Smith numbers. No, not really. A little bit less than Geno Smith numbers. Okay? He did. Geno had a great passing year, but Geno Smith's not going to run the ball like Jalen. I mean, if Geno Smith had 800 yards rushing like Jalen Hurts did, he'd have won the MVP award. Led the NFL in completion percentage, 4,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns. Geno Smith had a spectacular passing year last year. He just doesn't have the dual threat that Jalen has. He just doesn't. My 8th prediction. And 5573 goes, only due to missing games. He'll never play a full season. 5573. I'll put that as a 10th prediction. Jalen Hurts will never play a full season. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He hasn't yet. You think now he's going to? Where would you get that from? Cody goes, bet. So you're going with something that hasn't happened yet, and I'm telling you that the last 2 years it's happened, and you can't accept reality. Is that correct? Okay, that's on you, dude. And this year, if you miss 4 games, it'll cost you home field. I think Jalen Hurts, my 8th prediction. I think Jalen will put his football team in a position where it has him in the conversation as the top 3 candidates for the most valuable player award again. He is going to have to carry this football team, especially because of the defense. And if he plays the way he did a year ago, and that offense continues to play like it did a year ago against really good opponents this year, they're going to be right there again, like I said, in the NFC title game. And I think he'll be in the top 3 when it comes to the most valuable player. Okay? I think he'll be. 5-star goes, I'm wishing that Jalen gets hurt. No. Jalen's been hurt 2 years in a row. I'm not wishing it. I'm going by what the player's done. That's not wishing, dude. There's nothing about wishing that. It's what he's done. How did you get wishing out of that? Not wishing. He's not going to play 17 games. It's not wishing. That's not wishing. That's what he's done 2 years in a row. How is that wishing? I think he's going to be in the conversation once again for the most valuable player award. I do. Number 10. I think Sean Desai is going to struggle. Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, will not. I think Sean Desai is going to struggle in 2023 with the back end of that defense and linebackers. I think they're not prepared. They're not ready to play. If the 49ers are not ready to play at quarterback, you're not ready to play at safety, and you are not ready to play at linebacker. Those are facts. You are not ready to play. July 31st, you don't have enough talent to stop people at the linebacker position. That's my prediction. You don't. You got a cast off from the Bears, and you got an undersized Mike linebacker. An inexperienced one to boot. That's how I see it. So, you can say whatever you will. but that's how I see it. Gary Cobb, I'm going to bring up all these with Gary Cobb as well. Okay? I really am. Hey, by the way, folks, I want to say one more time how thrilled we are with our relationship with Hooters King of Prussia. My relationship now spans over 35 years with our friends at Hooters. And 2023, it's going to be the official home of the National Football Show with Big Silz, and we can't be more prouder. Hooters KOP is your preseason place for you to get your fantasy teams together for all your football. It's home of the Eagle fans. You're going to absolutely love it. You can host your fantasy draft parties, hot wings, world famous Hooter girls there. You see them all the time advertised, and it's absolutely one of the best environments I've ever been around. You're going to love it. Daily specials, Tuesdays, Hooters. I mean, they're 2 days, and get this, you buy 10 wings and you get 10 boneless wings free. Wing Wednesdays, absolutely one of the best. I mean, this is one of the traditions that they've had forever with my involvement. All you can eat wings, again, for $19.83. Simple as that. Kids eat free on Saturdays. Great time. Happy hours. What can I say? Every weekday at Hooters, man, you're going to love it there. I mean, 6 items, $6. Miller Lite tall drafts, Coors Light tall drafts, Blue Moon short drafts, fried pickles. You got to try the fried pickles, man. You're going to love it too. 6 boneless wings. It's some of the best. 240 North Gulf Road in King of Prussia. Do me a favor, when you go to Hooters, you tell them Big Silz sent you.